Welcome to the Lead Pedal Podcast with your host, Bruce Outridge, where he talks all things trucking. Now let's get rolling.
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Welcome to another edition of the Lead Pedal Podcast. This is part 2 of retaining your drivers. This is part 2 of our series today. We're going to talk about why drivers leave. This is very important for many of you that are maybe in operations or in recruiting, retention, any of that kind of stuff. It's very important to understand what drivers are looking for. We talked a little bit about that in the last one. We're going to talk a little bit about that more in part 2. Before we get to that, though, let me tell you a little bit about Hardwall Energies. That's right, they're opening up that truck stop at exit 230 on the 401 in Woodstock, Ontario. You know, it was formerly a truck stop chain before. It's been closed for a couple of years. They're renewing that. It's going to be an SO card lock. So you make sure you want to check that out. So they're going to have diesel fuel. They're going to have an RV filling station. They're going to have mechanics on site. They're going to have a driver's restaurant. They're going to have convenience stores. Man, it's going to be a great place for you to get all your work done and have a complete stop all at once. So where do you go? You go to hardwallenergies.com if you want to get your own SO fuel card, or you can call them at 1-800-363-2712. Is another great way to get hold of them. They've been around since 1958, mostly in Quebec and now expanding into Ontario. So it's good to have a truck stop back there for sure. All right, let's get on with our interview today.
By far my favorite station.
You're the best. Oh, yeah.
I love you guys.
All right, so today we're talking about drivers and why they leave companies. And there's a number of reasons why drivers leave companies, and you really need to think about this. A lot of times they don't leave because of the company, they leave because of the way they're treated at the company. And more even specifically, the way a manager or something treats them. I know I've been on both the supervisor side and the manager side, and I have left because of not because of the company, but because of the people at the company. I've also left because of the people under me at the company, and I will leave that one alone. But yes, I've been on both sides of this, and I've left good companies because I was not treated the way I was. That's one part. Okay, a lot of times they leave because they don't see opportunity. Again, this happened to me. I was working for a company that I absolutely loved. This company had worked there for a number of years, really enjoyed working there, did not see where the opportunities were for the future. Drivers change over time, and they start looking for ways to do things. So the way you're treated is a big one. Are there opportunities for the drivers on the other one? And then basically, are they making decent money? This really comes down to it at the end of the day. If they can make a good buck there, they will probably stay. There's a number of ways to do this. It's not as easy as just 1, 2, 3, but those are probably the 3 big things. If people are really not making decent income, that's probably a big one. If they don't see opportunities for growth, that's another one. If they're not treated well, it's another one. And I guess we could also add, does the company fit their lifestyle? And this is why, for many years, over and over, on every podcast or ad you've seen or whatever, we keep saying that trucking is a lifestyle, and because it does affect your life. It is not a 9-to-5 job. It is not a, just go to the job and go home at the end of the day. You're sleeping in your truck. You're away for days at home. You're eating on the road, all kinds of stuff. So it really is a challenge for a lot of people to understand what trucking is like. And this is why we do so much work up front. Good recruiters do this too. Up front, they're saying, here's what you need to know. Please listen to us. Can you handle being away 6 days at home? And most people think that's fine for the first 6 days. And then after that, it becomes a chore. After 6 months, I left a carrier because I didn't get home. Not that they weren't a good carrier. They're still in business today. I did not get home. So this has happened a number of times, and let's look at the first one. How is someone treated? If they are treated, we just talked about this in the last one. Drivers are not numbers in part 1. if you're always down on them, if you're you're delaying them on the road, you're leaving too much waiting time, all that kind of stuff. If they don't feel like they're being treated properly and they're being treated as part of the team, they are going to look elsewhere, because you know what? Why would you stay? Why would you stay? And then the opportunities. I had this one with a carrier I was with where my fault. I did not ask what opportunities, but it was a family style carrier. I did not see a lot of opportunity. All the family were kind of in the key areas, very small team, so not a big office staff needed. And I did not see the growth potential. And so when a bigger company came knocking on my door, shall we say, I accepted because I could see the growth opportunity. Now it turns out that I probably would better just staying with that carrier. But when you're looking to grow over time and grow your career, you don't always understand that. So that was a big thing for me. Did I make a big buck? I made a pretty good dollar at most of the trucking companies I was at. Most of the time it wasn't money, and I've always said that on the show here. It's not necessarily money that gets people to leave, although if it's really like you're being delayed a lot and you're not making the income, because in trucking, when you're running by the mile, really it doesn't matter, because someone can just run you more miles or less miles, and it doesn't matter how cool the number is that you're getting. But when I think one of the things when you're looking for opportunities or you're looking to change your lifestyle, that is one of the big things. So if the money's not there, as far as it's either really low behind everybody else, or there's just so many delays that a driver cannot make a buck, they're going to go and look at something else for sure. As far as the lifestyle goes, I think that's a big one. Like I said, I work for a carrier and I only worked there 6 months, and not that they're a bad carrier. I know people that have worked there for years and years and years. It's just the way that they worked. My kids were born at the time and I wanted to be home more, and I ended up being on the road more. I wasn't home for a month at a time, and I was used to being gone only for a week at a time, and I ended up quitting because of that. So there's some big reasons there as to why they're not treated. And then, if you're just not getting it, like you're just really not feeling the love of that carrier. I've never left carriers for other trucks, but my equipment and what I'm using on my day-to-day is a big part of it. If it's not good, I'm not going there, because that's not what I want to do. But opportunity is a big thing for sure. And if they don't trust you, if you're lying to the driver all the time, it doesn't matter how many times you make up and give them a new sweatshirt or a new ball cap or whatever, they're going to say goodbye because they don't trust you anymore. And that's one of the big things that happened the last time I was there. I lost confidence in my manager, did not feel that I was feeling very, very stressed, and felt that it was time for me to leave, even though they were a really good company, great benefits. I'd worked there a long time. It was not worth staying for what I saw for the future. So no regrets, glad I left. But sometimes it's just people getting bored. Now, I had an interview with Clifford Walker, and he was a truck driver who turned into a real estate guy, and he left because of what he was talking about too, as far as didn't see that that's going to be the future for him. And I'm going to play a little bit of that interview for you. It's on our podcast. But here he's talking about how to make that transition. Trainer or something else, but you can't it doesn't just start and stop. You have to kind of transition along. How did you do that? Did you take courses while you were driving, or what did that look like for you?
Oh, for sure. So it was funny how I got into real estate investing. So I was driving in West Texas. And so it was funny because I truly believe that if you're doing something that you're not meant to do, it will eventually lead to the thing that you're meant to do. And so ironically, I just happened to hear a podcast that was on the satellite radio, just because that's all that would pick up out there in West Texas where I was at, where a guy was talking about wholesaling real estate. Okay. He was talking about how much money he was making and doing all of this. And I was just glued to that steering wheel, like just listening to it. I'm like, wow, this sounds amazing. Yeah, this sounds amazing. And then I just went down this rabbit hole on what is wholesaling real estate. I started going to every event that I could when I could, just deep diving into it to where eventually it was funny. I came home and I told my wife, I said, we're getting into wholesaling real estate. And she's like, what are you talking about?
Mine was worse because I told her I'm quitting my 6-figure job as a supervisor and I'm going to become a cartoonist because I'm an artist as well. And she was about as excited.
Yeah. And so that's how it started. I ended up going to like an event here local in Dallas, and I ended up just getting this coach and joining this community. And just kind of hit the ground running, right? Like,
be sure to share the podcast on your favorite social media channels.
All right, so there you go. That's an interview I did with Clifford Walker. You can listen to the whole thing on our podcast, previous podcast episodes or YouTube channel. Before we get started, let me tell you a little bit about Rosedale Transport. If you're looking for a company that does have the opportunities, does treat you with respect, then Rosedale should be on your list. They've got local, regional, highway, and owner-operator opportunities. They've got 15 locations throughout the North America, and they've got over 800 employees, and they've been around for over 50 years. So you know you're going to get a stable environment that will do really well for you. So check out rosedalegroup.com, click on their careers tab, and you can find out exactly what's going on right there. All right, so we're looking at some of the things that make drivers leave, and dispatcher pressuring them to bend the rules. Maybe promises made in recruiting that disappear after orientation. Geez, that's never happened before. Safety concerns are ignored. It's really sometimes operations thinks, oh, that's just another thing to worry about with money, but really it's safety on the road and for that employee and the rest of the road users as well. Or they feel like no one has their back, and I've felt like this before. And I'm going to add, they don't see the opportunities, because this was a big one for me. Anybody that's kind of driven, and when I say driven, not driven a truck necessarily, but is driven to kind of wants to grow their career, and maybe trucking was part of it, but they don't see it as the whole thing. I know this happened to me. I didn't understand for some reason when I got in the trucking industry, and I fell into this industry. I did not have family in it or anything like that. I said, man, how am I going to do this? After 25 years, for some reason I felt that was enough. And to find out that 25 years is when I got out of the truck. right after that, I still in the industry. I went into supervisor and stuff like that after that. But yeah, sometimes people just feel like it's enough. I remember when I was running for a carrier, I had a beautiful truck, beautiful trailer. They kind of let me go wherever I wanted to go, and I remember feeling just, am I getting bored now? Like, what do I do? I've kind of reached everything that I can do. I've reached all of the goals that I had kind of set. I've got a nice truck. I've got a nice trailer. The company's treating me well. I'm making good money. I'm enjoying my job. But what's next? When you're young, when you're in your 30s, you go, you're just going to do this for the next 35 years? So if we'll talk about this in the next episode. What keeps employees? That's what we're going to find out. Anyway, let's wrap this one up. This is part 2. Let's wrap this up. Before we do that, let me tell you about a place where you can make your truck. You want to get a couple special touches for those, the special guys in your fleet, maybe those top performers. Chrome Supply Warehouse is where you should go. These guys are awesome. They're located in Belleville, Ontario, on the north side of 401 at exit 538. Just look for a giant blue glass building there. They got 8,000 square feet of the best truck parts that you can get. Now, if you can't get to Belleville, you can order online. They can ship it right to you, ChromeSupplyWarehouse.com. They've got everything from interior parts to exterior parts. Hey, what if you rewarded those drivers with a cooler bumper or cooler visor or something like that, something to make them feel that they're respected. It goes a long way. Keeps your trucks looking great, keeps them feeling respected, and it helps everybody down the road. So check them out at ChromeSupplyWarehouse.com. Make sure you tell them that the Lead Pedal Podcast sent you. And make sure you subscribe, because we're doing series now. This is part 2. Part 3 is going to come out in a couple days, so make sure you subscribe, and we'll talk to you later.
This has been another episode of the Lead Pedal Podcast. For more information or to subscribe to the podcast, visit theleadpedalpodcast.com, and be sure to follow the podcast on Facebook and Twitter.